to our webinar, How to Choose the Right Business School. My name is Nelly and I'll be the moderator today on behalf of UniMy Prep team. I'm here with Dr. Don Martin, who has served for 28 years at the University of Chicago, Columbia University, and Northwestern University. Don is also the founder of Grad School Road Map, an admission consultancy, and he has extensive experience helping hundreds of applicants to get into their dream school and dream MBA program. So I'm very happy to have Dr. Don here with us. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Please ask questions anytime during the session using the chat or Q&A box. All questions are welcome. I think we're all set now, so I'm giving the word to you, Don.
Nelly, thank you so much. And hello, everyone. It is great to be back with you for the third and final presentation of this particular series on how to choose the right business school. If you are joining us having heard the other two presentations, welcome back. And if you are a first-time attendee and you haven't had a chance to hear the other presentations, I'm told from Nelly that they are all available on UniMy Prep's YouTube channel. So you would be able to access the earlier two parts of this, should we call it a trifecta, a three-part presentation. But regardless of whether you're joining us again or you're joining us for the first time, welcome. I'm thrilled to have you here, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to spend this time sharing some insights that I hope will be helpful with you, to you today. While I'm getting ready to share the agenda that we're going to cover today, I thought I'd just put up a little bit of information for you about my background. As Nelly said, I was very fortunate to spend many years in the enrollment and student services space. During the time that I worked at these institutions that Nelly mentioned, I evaluated over 125,000 applications, including 80,000 applications while I was at Chicago Booth as Dean of Admissions. I say that not to boast, but rather to let you know that what I'm sharing with you today is based on that 28 years of experience. I've actually sat in the chair of an admissions dean for many, many years. So that's the perspective I'm bringing to the table today. I also want to just take a moment to thank UniMy Prep, the Advent Group, Access MBA, for giving me this opportunity to share with you today. I so appreciate the opportunity to do this. And so thank you to them. It's been a pleasure working with Nelly, Martina, and so many others at this wonderful organization. Obviously, I don't need to tell those who are tuned in today, this is an amazing group, and they have such incredible resources. They did not ask me to say this. I'm saying this of my own volition, but they're a great resource, as I'm sure you know. So thanks, Nelly, to you and your team again for giving me this opportunity. Something else I want to say here at the start is about questions. I say this every time, but it's true every time. I love questions. In fact, to me, that's probably my most important or favorite part of my presentation, is when I can answer your questions. So please, there's no bad question. There's no dumb question. If you want to ask me something later on when we get to that point in the presentation, either about something I've said today or shared with you, or something that I didn't share. If there's something else you want to ask me, please feel free to do that. And at the very end of the presentation, I'll provide my contact information in case you would like to reach out one-on-one and speak with me. You're certainly welcome to do that as well. So with that, let's move on and talk about what is it we're going to cover today. Well, very briefly, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what I'm doing now. I've been with Grad School Road Map 15 years. I founded the company in 2008. Then I'm going to cover a topic that is just critical, in my opinion, and that is the biggest mistake prospective MBA and graduate students make every year. This is just, it happens every year. I wish I could say that it didn't happen, but it does, and I definitely want to share that with you. Then we're going to move right to the importance of planning ahead. That's what That's what this is really about. If you're going to choose the right MBA program, the right graduate program, you need to do some planning ahead. And the particular focus of today's presentation, last time we talked about what you should be doing 12 to 7 months out, 12 months up to 7 months before you apply. Now we're going to talk about getting a little closer to that point. We're going to talk about what you might want to be doing 6 months to 1 month before you push that submit button and send your online application through the airwaves to whatever business schools you're applying to. That's going to be the primary focus of our time today. Then I'm going to close with a little word about my book, Roadmap for Graduate Study, which is now in its second printing. I'm going to talk about some coaching. Again, these will take 30 seconds to a minute. These are not long at all. And then we're going to share with you some exciting upcoming webinars. I'm so excited. Nellie and Martina and some of their colleagues made some great suggestions on some topics that we might want to talk about this year with applicants that are not often covered. And I'm excited about this. So I'm going to share with you what those upcoming webinars will be. And then we're going to take your questions. And we're going to be moving through this agenda pretty quickly. So please, again, whatever questions you have, start asking them at any point. And Nellie does a great job at the end. She will collate these questions, coordinate them, and ask those questions of me. So again, don't hesitate to ask any questions at all, okay? All right, so what is Grad School Roadmap? Well, basically, it's a resource. It's a resource for mostly prospective students and applicants, but we've also worked with alumni. And in some cases, we've done some consulting with enrollment management staff. But the large focus of Grad School Roadmap is to provide a resource for prospective students and applicants. Did you know, by the way, we have we're approaching 100 blogs on the Grad School Roadmap website. I just posted one this morning. We do this almost every week, maybe every other week, somewhere in that time frame. We just keep adding to this library of blogs on many topics related to the graduate school and business school research and application process. So I hope you'll log on and take advantage of that. It's a free resource, obviously, that is available to you on our website. We are exclusively made up of former admissions deans or directors. That's something, I'm not saying that you can't be a good disseminator of information about grad school if you were not a dean of admissions, but I do believe it very much helps. When you've actually been there, you've sat behind the desk, you've made decisions. I think that's very important and very helpful. So that's who our team is. As you can see, we've worked with many, many graduate school applicants. I'm going to have to increase that number. It's actually, we've now coached over 650 graduate school applicants across disciplines all over the world, and their admission rate is 97%. So we love what we do at Grad School Roadmap, that's for sure. Now, to the most important part of the presentation, or one of them. This is something Nellie could probably give this part of the presentation because I cover it in every webinar. And if you've been with me before, you know what I'm about to say. What is the biggest mistake prospective graduate students make, and we could say MBA/graduate students make every year? What is it? Well, very simply put, it is not doing adequate research when? Before you apply. Now, if you are planning to apply for the fall of 2023, which means you'll be submitting your applications this fall. You might submit some as early as September if you are applying for a first round application deadline. If so, this is only April. So we still have 5 months before you would start submitting some of your applications. The biggest mistake I believe you can make is not doing adequate research about your options before you submit that application. Now, how do you avoid this mistake? Very quickly, Obviously, you want to spread the net wide. In my opinion, if you're thinking about an MBA or another graduate degree, you would start off with at least 15 or 20 options, at least. In the case of MBA, you could start off with 25. Now, when I say list 25 options, I am not suggesting that you would apply to all of these programs. Absolutely not. Most MBA applicants apply to between 5 and 7 programs on average. So, but what I'm saying is you want to start out with a much larger group and then create a spreadsheet with those options. My suggestion, list them in alphabetical order. This is, you don't want to do any ranking right now. You just want to gather information. So list them on a spreadsheet. And what would you like to compare about these programs? What is it you might want to compare? Is it the type of, the quality of the faculty? Is it the class size? Is it the curriculum, the particular courses and programs they offer? Is it, whatever it is, there would be several things. Then you want to do some comparison shopping. Take a look at all of your options in light of what you have identified as what is most important to you, okay? And please remember, perception about your options, what you think of them, is where you end up after you've done your comparison shopping, after you've done your research. That's what you do first. Then you come up with your rank order. It's not where you start out. Many applicants would come, when I used to work at Chicago Booth, and I would go to an MBA fair or some sort of an informational event. Many applicants came up to talk with me primarily because Chicago Booth was in the top 5 or the top 10 business schools. That's all they knew. They had not done any other research about where we were located, what our faculty are like, what type of curriculum we offer. They hadn't spoken with students. They hadn't spoken with any alumni. They had done no research except that they knew that we were highly ranked. Well, if the rank of a school is important to you, that's your call. But if that's the only reason that you're applying to a particular business school, I think you're being short-sighted, to be honest with you. So remember, your perception about the programs, let's say you start off with a list of 25 business schools or graduate schools. In my opinion, you create your spreadsheet, you do some genuine, honest comparison shopping. By the way, please at least speak with one student or one recent graduate or 2 of them for each of these options. The information you can get, I hear this all the time from prospective students who spoke with current students or recent graduates, and it changed their opinion about some of the programs they were most interested in. These folks, and if you speak with them, you may want to write this down. Here are 2 questions to always ask a current student or a recent graduate. First question, what do or did you like most and least about the program? And they should be able to tell you both. They should be able to say, here's what I liked a lot about this particular business school. Here's something I didn't like. No business, I don't care what the business school is. No program is perfect. So that's the first question. Second question, if you had it to do over again, knowing what you know now about this program, would you still go? Very important questions. I would think you'd want to know this well before you make the decision on whether to apply to that particular program. So please, 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 if you take nothing else away from this presentation today, please do your research. I can't tell you how many of the 650 or more applicants I've personally worked with in these past 15 years with Grad School Road Map have changed their minds about where they're applying based on taking time to do research. I'm coaching someone right now who said to me, Dr. Don, after I heard you talk about this, I completely changed my list. And some of the schools that I was going to apply to, I'm not applying anymore. And I was encouraged, because what that showed is that they took more time to really investigate these. This is 2 years or more of your life. It's an investment. You could be relocating to another country, to another culture, where maybe your mother tongue is not the mother tongue of that new country where you're going to be. There's a lot of financial implications to this, so much. And you owe it to yourself to make sure you know exactly, to the best of your ability, what you're getting. And whether my 2 graduate school experiences were the two of the best experiences of my entire life. I don't want to do a third one. 2 was enough. But that said, those graduate experiences truly changed my life. They were amazing. But I chose those schools based on a lot of information ahead of time. That's how I made my decision. So please do your research, and remember, your perception of your options is where you end up, not where you start out. Okay, now, the importance of planning ahead now that you're getting ready to submit applications. Why is this so important? Well, first of all, obviously, it gives you the chance to spend quality time doing research without feeling like you're rushed. And you've got time. We're 5 months out from first round MBA application deadlines. 5 months out. So we have time. And if you're not planning to apply for the first round, but for the second round, we're about 8 months out. You've got the time to do this. Secondly, this gives you an opportunity to think things through relatively stress-free. You're not rushing. You're not, oh my gosh, I've got deadlines coming up next month and I have to put all this. No, you've got time to spread it out. In my book is the 12-month checklist, some of which I'm going to go through with you today. The entire list, chapter 1, of all the things to be doing. You don't have to, you won't get it wrong if you don't have 12 months before you apply. If you have 8 months, 5 months, you can still put these things together. But the point is, the further out you start doing all of this, the more calmly you will proceed through the process. And that can be very helpful just to your overall well-being. Next, one of the other things about planning ahead that will be helpful to you is that it will give you an opportunity to, whatever standardized test you're going to take, whether it's the GMAT or the GRE, whichever one, you will have an opportunity. Sometimes applicants are trying to cram all of their applications, getting their applications ready with trying to prepare for the GMAT or the GRE. That's just too much. That's usually too much to be. So if you start out early enough, I always suggest get your standardized test out of the way. If you're applying in September or December, try to get your test out of the way by at least June or July so that it's done. Some clients will take it, earlier in the year, but as soon as you can do that and have that out of the way, that's one thing less to be doing as you are going through the process of preparing to apply. And then lastly, obviously, if you are taking your time, doing things in a more organized manner, you will avoid or perhaps lessen the chance of making a mistake. Oftentimes, good applicants make mistakes, not because they're not good applicants. As I just said, they're very good, but they were rushing and they sent the wrong essay to the wrong program, or they left an entire section of the application incomplete. When that happens, especially if the institution receives lots of applications, if someone doesn't have their application in order, we used to get applicants to Chicago booth that accidentally sent the first draft of an essay rather than the final draft. That first draft might be riddled with spelling errors or whatever, and they just were rushing. So they accidentally sent the wrong one. The more you plan ahead, the less likely will be the chance that you're going to make a mistake. So There are many reasons why planning ahead, taking time to really prepare is so very, very important. It looks like we have at least one question already that has come in. That's wonderful. So I hope there's going to be more coming as we now proceed to the next part of the presentation, which, as I said, is a suggested 12-month application checklist. These are things to just be making sure you're doing as you are leading up to the point of submitting your applications. As I said, last time we talked about what to do 12 months out, 11 months, 10 months, 9 months, 8 months, 7 months out. Starting today, and in this presentation, we're going to talk about what to do 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month out. That will be the focus of my suggestions now for this part of the webinar. So 4 to 6 months out, here is what you would want to be focusing on, in my opinion. Okay, first of all, by all means, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you schedule to be part, well, if you can visit in person, obviously, that would be great. But if you can't, take some time to schedule some virtual admissions events, webinars, recruiting events, whatever they're called. Sit in on these, observe them. And what I would strongly suggest is that if you've created your spreadsheet and you know what you're looking for in the business school that you're going to ultimately enroll in, this would be the time to have that spreadsheet right there as you're listening to the information they're going to provide and fill in the boxes. And if they don't cover something that's on your list, then send them an email afterward and say, I'd like to ask some additional questions about this program. By doing so, you get more information, but you also then find out how they treat you as an individual. That would be something on my spreadsheet. How did the admissions office treat me, especially if I reached out to them? How did they respond? Were they friendly? Did they answer my questions? Or did they make me feel like I was some sort of a non-existent robot? Was their response more mechanical? Was it really impersonal? So make sure that you attend as many of these as you can. And for programs that you're very interested in, I would suggest trying to attend 2 if you can, so that you're, along with all the other research that you're doing, you're getting as much information. This is truly going to make a difference and help you. And now, if you'll give me a moment, I'm just going to take a sip of water. I'll be right back. Okay, what else do we want to do 4 to 6 months out? Well, this is very critical. Confirm your recommenders and meet with them. Meet with them. Do you know, I'm going to tell you now, you'll see it a little later here at the end of the presentation. One of my upcoming webinars is going to be about the critical importance of recommenders. This is an often overlooked aspect of the application process that will make or break many applications. I'm going to tell you something from an insider's perspective. As a dean of admissions at Chicago Booth, at Columbia, at Northwestern, 90 to 95% of the letters of recommendation that I read were worthless. Did you hear that? 90 to 95% of the recommendation letters I read were a waste of my time. They did not tell me anything. And that's why I'm excited to be doing a webinar strictly devoted to the critical importance of good. If you have a good recommendation letter or 2 of them, your candidacy is going to move up. I can tell you that right off the bat. If you've got, this is a very critical, so it is important that you just don't pick someone out of a hat, that you be sure that you pick. Now, I'm going to give you an early tip that you'll hear if you join me. I believe that webinar is in June coming up when we're going to talk about this. But let me just say this. What is my definition of a good recommender? A good recommender is someone who knows you in two ways: long enough and well enough. Did you hear that? Long enough and well enough to provide a good letter. In other words, some applicants think that maybe the president of the company would be a much better letter of recommendation than someone that they've worked with more closely. Absolutely incorrect. That is absolutely not true. If you pick somebody who doesn't know you that well, that letter of recommendation is going to be less credible. It will be less informative. It will not help you. So anyway, make sure that you've really thought this through and that you have confirmed those who are willing to write letters for you and that you meet with them. And I'm going to stop there for now. If you have questions about this today, put them in the question and answer box, and I'll be happy to answer one. But we're going to devote a whole webinar to the importance of this area. It can make or break your application. It truly can. Okay, what else do we want to do 4 to 6 months out? This is very important. You want to finalize your resume and get a copy of your transcript or transcripts. Get these things ready to go. If you get them done, then you know you have them ready, that when the application portals open and you can go in and create your application account, you could upload those immediately and be done with it. And if you have your recommenders confirmed, those are 3 of the 5 main components of the application: resume, transcripts, and we could add test scores to this, and recommenders. If you have that information ready, as soon as you open your application account, you can upload that information, and then you're done. You can cross that off, and then you can focus on that, what I call the busy work section of the application. All of your name, your address, all of that kind of demographic busy work, I guess you'd say. And then finally, your essays. By getting this stuff ready ahead of time, then you can spend more time on another critical component of your application, obviously preparing your essays. Okay, now 1 to 3 months out. Now we're getting close to the moment of truth, shall we say. This is the time when you're going to actually begin to prepare your applications. And of course, the first step to do that is to open up your accounts. My advice, some applicants will say, Dr. Don, how soon should I do that? Well, my advice is do it as soon as you can, as soon as it's available, because the more you can get done earlier on, the more time you leave for what takes you longer to do, which is your essays. You want to try to leave some time to really focus on those documents. That's very important. So as soon as you know that the applications are ready, go ahead and open up your account. And as I said, upload your transcript, upload your test scores, upload your resume, put your recommender information in there, and then you're done. Some applicants, if they're applying, let's say they're applying to 7 schools, they might go in at one point to all 7 applications and upload their resume to all 7 at once. And then they can say, okay, I checked that box, that's done. Then the next week, they go back in and they upload all their transcripts and test scores to all 7 applications, and then they can check that box. And then another week, they go in and upload their recommendations and get that. Or some people will go into one application and upload everything that they can at once. Doesn't matter, whatever works best for you. But the point is, get this, open them up and get this done. Here we go. Fill in your demographic information, resume, transcripts, LOR, get this all done. Fill it in, get it out of the way. It will make you feel calmer, a little less stressed. You'll be like, oh boy, I got this all done. I'm getting ahead here, and I will have all this time to focus on my essays. And lastly, here we go. Spend quality and quantity time on your essays. Now, for business school applications, in my experience, unlike, let's say, law school or medical school, or maybe a a PhD process. Those processes, the essays are almost identical. In fact, for medical school and law school, the first step in the process is to complete what might be called a common application, where you only write one essay that goes to all the law schools to which you're applying. That is not the case, as I'm sure you already know, for business school. Business schools ask different essay questions. Now, there could be similar ones. I'm not saying they're all different, but no two business schools have identical essays. They have their own essays. One school that I love this essay, I don't know if they're going to keep using it, but one business school asks you to tell them 25 things about yourself using either one or two sentences for each one. 25 things about you. And they give you a lot of latitude to talk about all kinds. I love that question. I think that's another question that is asked of MBA applicants for another program is, what matters most to you and why? I love that question. There's no right or wrong answer. It's more about showing what makes you tick. What is really exciting to you? What a great question. So in order to make sure you're ready to answer, if you're applying to 7 MBA programs, you could have at least 2, or let's say you have 3 essay questions for each program. That's 21 essays. That's a lot of essays. Now, not all of them might be 750 word limits. Some of them might be 300 words, but the point is you're going to have quite a few essays. And so this way, as I said, if you get all that other stuff done, you get your resume, transcripts, letter of recommendation, all the demographic information, then you can spend quality and quantity time on those essays. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in one of our upcoming webinars too. As you know, if I evaluated 80,000 applications at Chicago Booth times 3 essay questions, I'll just say I read a lot of essays. So this is, to me, because many business schools no longer allow every applicant to interview, which I think is a mistake, but that's not my business. But anyhow, since they don't do that, the next way they're going to really get to know you is from your letters of recommendation and your essays. And you need to spend a lot of time to make sure those essays are exactly what you want to present to those respective admissions committees. Okay, so those are just a few of the tips, if you will, for what you should be doing 4 to 6 months out and then 1 to 3 months out. Obviously, 1 to 3 months out is your focus on your applications. There's a lot more information in my book in chapter 1 for each of these. In fact, in the book, I just go 1 month at a time, 12 months out, 11 months, and I have 5 or 7 things to be thinking about. If you're interested, you may want to check that out. But there we have the suggested, just a couple of things to keep in mind 4 to 6 months out and 1 to 3 months out. Now, we're coming up on toward the last few slides of my presentation. It looks like we've got several questions that have come in. That's outstanding. I love it. I hope you're going to send more. But here's just a quick word about my book. I said I would mention this. This is the only comprehensive book on the graduate school research and application process that I've ever seen out there. 4 chapters, only 105 pages long. It's a very short book, 4 chapters. The first chapter, the research process and the checklist. That we've been going over today. The second chapter, everything you ever wanted to know about the application process. Everything. Essays, test scores, academics, extracurriculars, interviews, special situations that come up with the admission. Whatever it is, it's there. The third chapter, I've never seen this chapter in any other book on graduate school ever. How to succeed once you're there. 15 tips. Not only was I a dean of admissions at Chicago Booth, I was also dean of students. I was at Columbia as well. I met with students every week, and I worked closely with current students too. So this is based on my experience again of 28 years, 15 tips on how to make your graduate school experience the best it can be. Final chapter, I've worked with 4 groups of students over the years: prospective students, applicants, admitted students, and current students. Those 4 groups. I have a list of the top 10 questions for each of those groups and my answers. The top 10 questions prospective students ask me, applicants ask, admitted students ask, current students ask, and my answers. So if you're interested, you can go on to the Grad School Road Map website, go to the book page, click order the book, and you can use the promo code GSRM, which stands for Grad School Road Map, and you'll get the book for 50% off. So I hope you'll consider purchasing it. It has proven to be helpful. Now, I want to talk also quickly about my coaching work. As I said, it has been a very, very successful undertaking. I use my application experience of 28 years. My clients work exclusively with me. Perhaps number 3 would be of most interest to you. It truly does not cost thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't believe it should. I just don't. And as I said, 97% acceptance rate. We're up over $16 million in funding. And I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. I will not put you on a distribution list. I will not bother you with emails. I promise. I don't believe in that. But I will gladly speak with you for 30 minutes free of charge to talk about anything, whether you hire me or not. That's secondary. But if you'd like to talk with me, you can click on the website. There's a contact form right there. You can click on it, fill out your information, and send it to me and schedule a free consultation if you would like to do that. Okay, now before we go to Q&A, I just wanted to mention these upcoming webinars that we're going to be offering with Unimi Prep on June 21st. Here it is, letters of recommendation. I hope you'll mark that on your calendar. This is going to be this is very often not discussed, and it's a very, very important issue around the matter of recommendations. So I hope you'll join us on June 21st. July the 12th, I probably am going to expand this a little bit with your permission, Nellie. I do want to talk about your application deadline strategy. That's very important. But I believe I'm also going to add a little bit about essays, since recommendations and essays are the 2, I believe, very critical components of the application that you can really have some control over. I think I'm going to add that, if that's okay. So I've been thinking about this, and so that'll be July 12th. September 13th, we're going to talk about the interview, but this time from the perspective of the person who's doing the interview, the admissions person, the alumnus, someone I want to share with you what they are looking at, what they're going through during the process. That again is something that is not often, the focus is often, well, how can you have a good interview? Well, that's good, that's important. And that whole is in my book, by the way, in the 2nd chapter, a whole section on what you can do to have a good interview. But I want to share with you what is going through my mind as an admissions dean or an admissions representative when I'm doing an interview. I think that could help you should you be invited to do an interview after you've submitted your application. I think that could be very helpful. So these are 3 very, very important webinars, all 3 of them. I hope you'll put them on your calendar. I hope you'll let your friends know about them and that you'll decide to join us. We'd love to have you back, or we'd like to have you join, have some of your friends join that maybe haven't joined us before. Okay, with that, we are just about ready to have some Q&A here with Nellie. But before that, I did promise you my contact information. Here it is. My email address, dmartin@gradschoolroadmap.com. My phone number's there. If ever I can be of any help, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You absolutely are welcome to do that. You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn if you like, or Twitter. I have followers there as well. I do regular LinkedIn and Twitter updates. So feel free to join my network in any way. And as I said, if you would like to reach out to me to schedule a consultation, you can complete the contact form. It's on every page of the Grad School Roadmap website. Okay, we have just come up on 40 minutes. I can't believe it went by so fast. I want to thank you all for listening so intently and staying with me throughout this part of the presentation. Now we're coming to the part that is my absolute favorite, and that is Q&A. I believe we've had some questions come in, Nellie. So I'm going to, first of all, again, say thank you for letting me do this. I love it. It's great working with you. Now I'm ready to answer any questions that we may have.
Thank you very much, Don. As usual, it's a pleasure for us as well. I'm jumping into the questions right away.
All right.
Okay, let's start with the first one. And we still have time, guys, so feel free to type in your questions.
Yes.
Hello, can you talk a bit more about the differences between 1-year and 2-year MBA? Okay, that's an interesting question as a start.
That's a very, very good question. Yes, I can. It seems that one of the differences between a 1-year and a 2-year MBA program is the absence of an internship, for one, and a little bit more focused coursework on a concentration that someone is interested in, rather than on some core courses they might be required to take if they were in a 2-year program. Typically, individuals who pursue a 1-year MBA may be less likely to be changing their career plan or switching careers. They're pretty well established in their work, but they would like to have the added credential, but they're not looking to do an internship. They're not looking to make changes. They just want to have a little bit of a stronger knowledge about the particular field they're already in. That's where a 1-year MBA program may be more attractive. That's kind of a short answer, but generally speaking, the students that I've met who are pursuing 1-year programs, that's what they tend to tell me, unlike those pursuing a 2-year program, who typically, maybe they've not been in the business arena, they're coming in from another area of work, or they're in the business field, but they want to switch. They want to make a change, and they believe that the MBA experience with the internship will help them facilitate that. Excellent question. Very, very good question.
Thank you very much, Don. A short answer, but an important one.
Good.
Our next question is, can you give advice about answering the essay questions? I try to be specific, but I don't want my essays to be too long.
Wonderful. I'm so thrilled that you asked this, whoever this is, and that you're thinking about this so far out. That's excellent. Way to go. My response is, well, a couple things. First of all, you're going to be given, most likely, a word limit. Almost all MBA essay prompts come with, at the end of the prompt, it will say 300 word maximum or 500 word. So you want to make sure that you follow the word limit. And I want to make a little suggestion here. Some word limits say 300 words maximum, which means you don't want to go beyond that. Others say 300 words minimum, which means you must have at least 300, and you can go over if you want. Now, if that's the case, and you have a 300 word minimum essay that you could go over, please don't go over too much. I would say if you have a 300 word minimum, you could go to 350, maybe 375 words, but I wouldn't go, you don't want to go on and on. You want to be careful there, okay? But if it's 300 maximum, you've got to stick within that 300. And as I said, I'm going to cover more of these tips. Nellie, is it okay if I add that to the July agenda, if that's okay? But I will, what I will say is, please, I know this may sound dumb, but please make sure you answer what you were asked to answer, and don't go off on a tangent and start discussing things you weren't asked to discuss. Many applicants make a mistake. They'll answer a question, but then they'll go on some other tangent, or they'll start talking about something that they weren't asked. Please answer just what you were asked to answer. That's what you want to do. Now, if there's something you're burning to say and you have had no chance anywhere else in the application to say this, Usually, MBA programs have what's called an optional essay or an additional essay. That's the place, if you have something else you want to say, that's the place to do it, not in the regular essays. If you do that, if you do it in the regular essays, it's going to look like you're not following directions. And if you don't follow directions, that's one of the reasons applicants get denied. Because the question comes up, if you can't follow directions as an applicant, how are you going to follow them as a student? So make sure you answer the question. Make sure you know if you have a maximum word limit, a minimum word limit. If it's a minimum word limit, don't go over that by much more than 50 to 75, 100 words at the most. Very good question. Excellent question.
Thank you very much, Don.
Sure.
We have another interesting question. There is one school I'm very interested, but I don't know how to show my interest in the application. Can you give me advice how to make a good impression?
Well, here's my my short but very honest take, and I'm glad you asked that question. The best way to make a good impression on any admissions committee or admissions director, I know this again sounds so simplistic, but it's true. 2 words: be yourself. First and foremost, be yourself. People think they have to become Superman or Superwoman, and they have to be all these, they have to be just the perfect applicant. Absolutely not. There's only one of you. Oscar Wilde said it best. He and I quote him. He said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." I love that. That is so true. There's only one Nellie. There's only one Dr. Don. There's only one of you. Nobody else can be you. So be yourself. Answer questions honestly. Now, if your question is, you know what, this application isn't giving me any chance to tell them why I am particularly interested in their program, if they have an optional or additional information question and they say, is there anything else you would like to tell us at this point? That's the place to do it. If they don't have that, you can send them a short email message after you've applied the next day and just say, I wanted to let you know how interested I just uploaded or completed or submitted my online application. I'm so interested in your program. Here are 3 main reasons why. Make it short, but you can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't make that email message long make it short. So either you can, if they ask you, why are you interested in our program? Obviously, that's the place. If they don't, you can try in the optional or additional information essay. And if that's not possible, then a short email message the day after you've submitted your online application. If you have more questions about that, feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much, Don. I love this answer.
Good.
We have actually more questions and more are coming in.
Good. This is good. I love it. That's great.
Okay. Is it okay to take an English language test offered by the school instead of the official test like TOEFL? That's an interesting question.
Excellent question. And my answer to that one would be a probably shorter answer, but the question is, if the institution says that that test would be equivalent to the TOEFL or the IELTS, for instance, yes, I think you could. But what you want to make sure of is what they're saying about that English language proficiency test. Is this just to help you to prepare for the one that they require, or does it take the place of that one? So if they specifically say, if you take our test, you don't have to take the TOEFL or the IELTS, then you're fine. If they don't say that, you probably want to check with them first. And that's a very good question. You can ask the admissions office. That's a very valid question that you could ask them about that. Very, very glad you asked.
Thank you, Don. And I would like to stay on the topic of tests because we have another kind of related question.
Okay.
Should we consider all reputable business schools that must request GMAT or GRE as the best ones?
Oh, boy. I'm telling you, these are fantastic questions. I love this. This group, as usual, we get some great attendees with very good questions. And I love, this is a great question. So if I understanding right, the question is around, is the business school that requires the GMAT or the GRE slightly a better business school or better program because they're requiring that for the application? Nellie, is that
Yes,
what you got?
yeah, I think so.
Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. In my honest opinion, no, I do not believe that whether or not a test is required is any indication of the quality of the program. And you know why? The reason is that over the years, it is becoming more and more apparent that test scores do not always predict success in graduate school or beyond. They are not. I believe that in the past, I think many graduate school admissions representatives and administrators and faculty would say that they have not found these test reports all that helpful in the long run. In fact, in the United States, it's amazing how many graduate programs are dropping their requirements for test scores. And it is even now happening. It was interesting. It started first in the Master of Arts and Master of Science programs. We saw many years back, we saw a lessening of requirements for GRE for those programs. Then it started to happen with PhD programs. I don't know if you saw, but Brown University, which happens to be in the Ivy League, wrote an article about, or put out a press release about 2 years ago. 14 of their doctoral programs, it completely dropped the GRE requirement because they found it useless, meaningless. Now, MBA programs are doing this. I think COVID had something to do with this initially. I think when COVID hit, a lot of programs started making changes with their test score requirements. But now what they're finding is that, maybe we don't really need this after all. So I do not believe that the quality of any MBA program or graduate program is directly correlated with whether or not they require a test score. I really don't. These are phenomenal questions. Excellent.
Thank you, Don. That was very interesting information that you shared.
Good.
Okay, one last question.
One last question. Okay.
What to do if I notice mistake in my application after submitting it? Is it allowed to contact the admission office?
Oh, that's in my book in chapter 2. What happens if you make a mistake? That's excellent. Very good question. Absolutely. Please feel free to contact the admission office. When I said before that if you rush, you tend to make mistakes, I didn't mean to insinuate that your application must be perfect. We all make mistakes. As in our best efforts, we make mistakes. You may have noticed one of my slides in this presentation, I had an extra letter at the end of that line. As much as I go through my slides, sometimes we just make a mistake. That's very human, and that's okay. And the best thing is that you discover it. If you discover the mistake, here's what you do. You send an email message to the admissions email address, and you say, I happen to notice that I made a mistake. I'd like to correct, if you can correct it, if it's maybe you made a mistake with a particular number of months that you worked at a position, you could just tell them this is the correct, or if you'd like to send an updated piece of information, you could ask them, how would you like me to provide this information to you? Don't be over apologetic. You could just say, I've noticed a mistake. I'd like to correct it. How can I do that? Thank you so much. Do not say, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that. Absolutely not. Do not get overly dramatic. It's not the end of the world. This happens all the time. And the fact that you caught it is a good thing. So absolutely, by all means, you should feel free to reach out if that happens.
Thank you, Don. These were all the questions. On behalf of our team, we are always happy to have you. We hope that our attendees enjoyed the webinar and learned a lot of new things. I'm ready to close here. So any final words?
Just thanks again for joining us, everyone. And they stayed with us, Nellie, everybody stayed right through. I'm so excited. And thank you so much. All the best to you as you navigate your upcoming MBA and graduate school application process. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Best of luck.